So now that we have our oops, we're done with step 1. We want to go on to step 2. So we want to make our oops beautiful. So the first thing that we want to think about when we're making our oops beautiful for step number 2 is that we really want to use finer drawing materials. So what this means is that we want to use things like maybe markers with really fine tips, and you can use any color you want. Or maybe we want to use colored pencils or regular pencils or maybe pens, anything that's got a much finer tip to it. And the reason that we want to do that is because we used a very loose and movement when we were making our big oops. So we want to go in and make sure that we're adding a lot of fine details to our oops to make it beautiful. So that way we're communicating what we see in our oops to the viewer. So just like the book, we want to make sure that we're really thinking about what we want the viewer to see and how we want to draw in our beautiful, to make our oops beautiful. So our really fine tipped drawing materials help us with that because they allow us to get more detail in. So I'm going to start with my chalk oops. And I am going to start to look for things that I see. And I'm going to take my drawing material. I am using a Sharpie because I think it's really bold and really cool. So I'm thinking about how this kind of looks like a fish. So I think that really kind of looks like a fish jumping. And I want to add some fins. So I wanted to make a happy fish. So this is my first way to make my oops beautiful. So I'm really looking, when I am looking to make my oops beautiful, I'm looking at all the crazy marks that I need. And then I'm really looking at shape. So I'm looking, like artists and designers do all the time, at the elements and principles of art and design. So I'm looking for line, and I'm looking for shape, and I'm looking for where I can see how certain lines and shapes maybe look like something else, something that I can make into something beautiful. So now, as I keep looking, this almost kind of looks like a big wave. So maybe I'm drawing a big wave. And this can be the beach over here, and I can put up a little lighthouse. And maybe this little line over here is connecting to my lighthouse. So that way, so now I made a little lighthouse. And this is my big wave. So now I got my fish jumping, and I got my big wave. So now I'm going to keep looking for things that I can see in the composition. I'm going to keep looking at how shapes remind me of different things and how I can make those into something beautiful. So now it doesn't look like a chalk oops. It looks like a really cool drawing of a fish and a lighthouse and a wave. I made a whole scene just out of an oops by making it beautiful. So artists and designers do this all the time in their artwork because it helps them really think about how to see things differently. So they are taking what might be considered as a mistake or an oops, And then they take that oops and then they make all of us see the oops as something so beautiful and wonderful and something so different than what we would think. So artists and designers really have to use their creativity and the elements and principles of art and design to really think about shapes and lines and think about what they see when they look at something or when they look at a shape and a line. So this is a really important practice that artists and designers use all the time. So when you're going forward and you're on the second step and making your oops beautiful, just remember you can use any drawing materials that you want to use, whether it's Sharpies or pens or pencils, or if you want to use some markers with fine tips. Just make sure that your drawing materials have finer tips, because that's super, super important to make it detailed and to show all the viewers what your beautiful oops is going to look like, because we want to see how you're making it beautiful. So we want to see these fine lines.